present tonight to you all. This all began, this art life as I call it, all began when I was, Patricia Fine, about maybe 4 or 5. And it was one of those winter recesses or spring breaks or one of those things. And I was sitting on the carpet in front of the television. And a nice gentleman with an afro came on TV, and he had an easel and canvas and a big palette. And he was talking about happy trees and happy accidents. And I remember being so utterly inspired by this man. And I began to call him Uncle Bob, because we're talking about Bob Ross.
He's my favorite.
And he's my favorite too. Still, I watch his videos on YouTube. But you know, he had his paint. I did not have paint. I had my 64 count of Crayola crayons with the sharpener on the back.
That's what's up.
That's what you need. You're up a notch and you have the sharpener on the back.
That's the truth.
And so I watched him with his fan brush doing his trees, and I just imitated as best as I could those trees with my crayons. And from then, I just fell in love with the arts. I fell in love with how I felt creating. I knew I had connected with what I deemed to be part of purpose. So tonight I'm just sharing a little bit of purpose with you all. I just have 6 pieces to share. It's really interesting how, in preparing for this, how all of this came about. I had planned, I said, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to get back into my own personal art making, because for a while I was not really creating. I was consumed with Build a Bridge, because I am employed by Build a Bridge as Director of Community Programs. And so my personal art making suffered. So when Paula asked me if I would like to present, I said, yes, this would be great. And so I said, okay, I want to have 3 new pieces to present to everyone. And that kind of happened. Not like I expected, which is interesting. But the first piece that came out of me wanting to create a new piece is this piece. And I like for people to interact with my work, so if you want to see it, I can pass it around. You can touch it. Maybe a little heavy, support it a little bit. But that piece is titled Brave. What I did for that, for inspiration purposes, is to ask some close friends of mine. I said, give me one word that represents you right now, or that's really meaningful to you right now. And one of my friends said brave, and immediately the image for this piece flashed into my head, because I knew she had recently kind of come out of some really deep type of self-esteem and self-worth issues, and was really embracing who she was. And so it's just a big old mirror, and actually the pieces of faces are actually young women that I know, that I hold dear to me, who I know also kind of dealt with those type of things, or are either in the process of coming out of that and really owning themselves and their creativity and their individual beauty. And so I kind of made this piece as a almost like a homage to them and their process. I love mixed media, so you see there's broken dishes and mirror board and printed out photos and marker and everything on there. That's really what I love to do. I like hands-on work. And so that piece is titled Brave. And then the next piece is actually not a new piece, but in preparing again, this was the original piece. Everything else came in the last week. It was one of those. And through this process, I really found how pieces I worked on months ago, maybe even years ago, were kind of like, we're not done yet, you know? And so they kind of spoke to me. It was like, there's a little bit more that you can do for me. And this was one of them. I actually did this piece for a project that I had when I was doing my graduate studies at Eastern University. And it was for a project for one of my courses. And the whole premise of the piece is, what did we think that God or a higher power was speaking over our community? And I lived in Brooklyn at the time. I'm originally from Brooklyn. I've actually only been in Philadelphia for about going on 2 years. And so I'm from Bushwick, Brooklyn, and so I felt that you know, God, or I believe as God as a higher power, was kind of renaming the young men in my neighborhood. In years past, they were kind of prone to violence and things of that sort, and so there's a negative connotation, had the whole thug persona and all those things. But I really felt like in recent years that was shifting, and I wanted to create this piece to kind of tell them that you don't have to go by those names, you don't have to go by that stigma, that persona, because you are from Bushwick, Brooklyn. And so this piece represents that, and there's some wording here and things like that, and you can read that if you'd like. I'll pass it around as well. That doesn't really have a title. A lot of my pieces don't.
Did you create all of the different images too?
Yes. So
The hand and the picture?
the hand, the pictures are pictures I took on my cell phone. The face, you know, the wording is original, drew the face and colored the face on there. The only thing that pretty much isn't original and created by me is the map. You can thank Google Maps for the map. So that's that. This piece is a different type of piece for me. I hardly really do what I consider abstract pieces like this. Some of you may have seen it. I did show it. We got the Christmas party that we had. But this is called The Secret Life of Trees. I was just really kind of fascinated with the texture of trees and just wanted to capture it in this piece. I am a firm believer that trees are alive. I love movies like Lord of the Rings, when the trees come alive and they help fight the bad guys and things like that. And so I always like to think that there's a whole other world going on that we can't see, where they represent so much more than what we just see as a tree. And so this is represents that. So there's actual pieces of trees, bark. Again, took a photo of a tree, printed that out. There's watercolor on here, pastels, pen ink, old dishes, cardboard, just everything on there. And if you have any questions.
Is it meant to be held which way is it?
You know, it's this way, but if you want to hold it any other way, by all means do so.
Okay.
But I created it to be held this way.
All right,
But of
so
course,
that's right side up.
yeah,
Okay.
of course, everything's open to interpretation, so. This piece is titled Growth. Again, accidentally broke a dish in my kitchen while I was washing the dishes. Great, I actually like it. I don't get mad anymore because I'm like, yeah, I have more art supplies. So if you have broken dishes at home, please bring them to me. I would be very happy about it. This is called Growth. I did this around the time when I first moved here to Philadelphia, so it was a transitionary time for me. It was a time for growth. Being out of the familiar, born and raised in Brooklyn, did go away to college and things like that, but it was very familiar. And then coming here to Philadelphia, which is a completely different culture than New York, at least I feel. I'm used to the fast pace of, Manhattan, and Philadelphia is a little bit slower pace. I'm used to the subway, operating all the time, actually going everywhere, not cutting off at a time.
They're thinking about it.
So,
They're thinking about it.
I know, it'd be so great. I did see that and I was rejoicing. And so this is just representative of that. Kind of a little nervous, kind of looking back, but moving forward. I can't remember what the words are, what I wrote in this. But again, mixed media, pencil, marker, fabric, mirror board.
Did you say that was a self-portrait?
Yes, this is a self-portrait. This is me.
I noticed you have a lot of broken pieces in a lot of your work. Is that brokenness a metaphor by chance?
You know what? Not consciously, honestly.
I'm feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
That there is a brokenness and there is an attempt to mend broken pieces
Right.
at some level.
Because I realize a lot of my work, at this point, I am drawn to things like this.
Yeah.
And of course, doing the work I do, there's always an underlying message in your work. As an artist, I do this with the kids. We look at it, we say,
It's really strong coming from you, though.
Mhm.
It really is.
So thank you. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Which is why I love to do things like this, because in a room full of other people, you really get another perspective on your work and under yourself. So thank you.
It's beautiful work.
This piece is really dear to me for several reasons. Like I explained, I had stopped personal art making for a long time, actually. I went to LaGuardia High School for Art, the famed school, if you don't know what that is in New York. So there really was dancing in the hallways and things like that. And it was a great experience. But
Excuse me, not going to cut you off. Is that where was Fame?
in Manhattan, in New York.
Was it at that location, that place?
I think it was at an older location. We moved the location as I was on Amsterdam, but I think when the school first began and
Yeah.
they did the movie,
Before
it
your
was
time.
elsewhere,
Okay.
before my time, right.
Okay.
Way before my time. 'Cause I
Okay.
remember watching the movie when I was about this big.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay.
And so after pretty much high school, I didn't do a lot of art making. I pretty much stopped drawing, things of that sort. Went to college, did a little bit, and out of the blue, after I graduated college, I was working for the college I actually graduated from, doing residence life and academic support, and my sister sent me a text message, and she was like, "Are you drawing?" And I was like, "No, not really." So she was like, "You should start again." And that was it. I was like, "Okay, message." And so, I talked to some friends, and I was like, "Yeah, I really feel like I should begin, really embracing my art again." And then a sketchbook showed up from a friend, and a pencil set showed up from another friend, and I sat down and started thinking about what I was going to do, and took a trip to the city with a friend, and wound up purchasing a book called Sidewalk Stories. And it was all portraits and stories of homeless men and women. I can't remember if they were in New York or not. I don't even know where the book is, which is interesting. But the reason why I purchased the book was this young man's portrait, because it was very striking to me. His eyes kind of grabbed me. And so I purchased the book and went home, and that night started working on this piece. So this piece was after years of not doing anything. It was a push, it was a challenge to kind of let go of the process and let whatever comes out, come out. And I was really pleased with the result. But I love this piece. It's definitely one of my favorites. So, and this is just a pencil, graphite pencil drawing. No mixy for that, except for the framing.
You seem to take great attention to the eyes on a lot of whatever you, on all the pieces you've done so far. The most communicative thing on the collage is the eyes, which here happen at you, like this one, and also the, those over there, those are the things which one's eyes are drawn to.
That's true.
Which is funny, because this one, this is actually a work in progress. It is not finished. And again, this was one of those, I had started this portion of the piece months ago, actually before I moved to Philadelphia. And just kind of set it aside. Just okay, like kind of whatever. And then again, in just preparing and doing some new pieces, started doing some things. The background came first. And then just pretty much last night, I was sitting there and I thought about this piece and I was like, there it is. This is what I'm going to do. And so this is what I have thus far with this piece. Yeah, thus far. I like how it's coming out so far, but it's latex paint, acrylic paint, fabric, pencil, gold, metallic marker, and if you notice, I love gold. So there's some gold somewhere, basically in almost each of my pieces, because I just love gold. So I did her eyes gold in this one. And the cardboard, I like using cardboard, is burnt. My bathroom still smells like burnt cardboard. I was safe in doing it though, don't tell Dr. Vivian. But yeah, work in progress. So just be careful because it's a little fragile in the burnt, I don't want to put ash on it.
What is the intent with the piece versus the frame?
I just like the way it looked. Yeah, I just like the way that looked. I had that frame for the longest. It was the glass was broken. I just had it in the closet. And just like, okay, it'll be useful one day. And again, in preparing, all these things came together. This piece was not originally in this frame. You know, this piece was not on this backing. And so, again, it's like each piece kind of came alive and said, there's more that you can do with me. There's more to express. And so I really enjoyed the process of just preparing for this presentation to you all because it really,
I think your the mirror is kind of reminds me of Ife O's yeah. Her presentation where she did a lot of, I don't know if you saw that one, but she did a lot of fans, and she did a collage. Hers, however, were of images of you know, of her roots, and I'm blanking on where exactly they were, but whereas yours tends to focus on the reflection, and you seem to also like to be able to have a broken reflection, which is, but her stuff and your stuff has a similar quality, at least in that one.
gotcha. Are there any other questions or comments or anything?
What prompted you to char
The cardboard?
Where'd that come from?
That's a good question. Again, painted the cardboard,
Yeah.
the stripes
Yeah.
on it, wind up cutting it in half to use for this piece. That piece was left. That's actually a smaller piece of the larger piece. And what came into my head was an art project I did in the 7th grade, where we did something similar, but we did it on, it was a calligraphy project that we, I think, coated the paper in either polyurethane or something, and burned it into like parchment or like an antique. And so that just popped in my head, so I was like, I'm gonna try it on this and see what happens.
It gives it a character.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I like about
Yeah.
it is, and I thought that the particular drawing of the woman fit that perfectly. Because I just, for a while, it was just the burnt piece of cardboard sitting there.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'll use you at some point. And then again, piece I had started working on and just felt like I should leave it, came back to me and I said, I think she would be perfect on this. So that's how that came
The
about.
frame works really well. It gives you the impression that you're looking into her environment.
Mhm.
It almost, are those stamps, those flowers?
These flowers?
Yeah.
No, it's actually it was from a pad of like scrapbooking paper. So
Oh,
it's all,
okay.
yeah, it's all part of the decorative part of the paper.
I have to say, I'm really impressed with how that blends together.
Yeah.
Because from afar, when I first saw it from afar, I would have never thought there was the same juxtaposition of materials that you actually have. So like looking at it close by really is a discovery. It's like, oh, this is material, and there's this material, and
Yeah.
this paper, and this is a drawing, and this is, it's fascinating because from afar it looks, it's so, you managed to convey such a balance of the different pieces from afar that it doesn't, not that there's anything wrong with the clashing of collage, but in this piece, it doesn't look like a collage. And then when you look at it, you're like, oh, these are like different materials. So there's a beautiful balance that comes in that piece. I really enjoy. It makes it like very
I think that's
discovery
definitely
fun.
the strongest piece.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that I have a different opinion, I'm sorry, but I think that the solitary image of that person it's your favorite and it's also mine. I do like I didn't notice it initially, but I love how his beard kind of goes off in small wisps. His beard is And whatever you choose to focus on, you know, your art knows more than you do about what you find interesting sometimes.
Right.
And that's why I think, you know, it combines a lot of the strengths of the other pieces in that single image. Why do you like that one favorite? Why is that your favorite?
This one?
Yeah.
I
It's
think
mine too, but I'm just wondering why it's your favorite, as opposed to these other things where you've taken lots of actions and lots of collage, whereas your favorite one is one which is starker.
Right, and I think that might be why, and the fact that there's just a kind of emotional tie to it. Because it was like, it's almost like the first, not that it's my first child, but after a while of kind of almost being barren, you know, and you produce this piece, and like I said, it was a process to kind of birth it, because I had to take out of, it needs to look this way, I need to do this, and the image that I had kind of in my head, and just really be free and embrace the art making process. And so out of it came that, and I just love the image. The photo itself is amazing. So that's really why I love this piece.
Thank you.
Could you speak at all to the choice of placing it behind there? I don't know if you mentioned this while I was away. Yeah, the choice of mounting it on there.
I think, again, because this piece was done in 2009, and I just framed him for this, and I was thinking about how I could do that, and I had this mirror hanging on my wall. Again, a lot of things just in my apartment, hanging on my wall, and I thought because I loved his eyes and I loved looking into his face, I would put him on a mirror so that when you look at him, you kind of see a bit of yourself as well, like that whole interaction going on there. It's like seeing the humanity, you know, in someone else and connecting with that, and so that's why
I think that works really well. That was my perception. I was just curious, you know, sometimes the perception of you as a recipient isn't necessarily
Right.
what the artist intends.
Yeah.
See, I see
And
myself.
yeah, I
Go ahead.
found myself trying to see my eyes and his eyes in the same angle, although I couldn't. So that was kind of fascinating to me. Just that experience of, sorry.
See, I see myself in him without the mirror.
I like it. Yes, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think I do too, particularly the eyes. I can't get over the eyes.
Right,
It's like,
it's his
from
eyes.
here up is what,
Yeah, and it's the same thing in that one, and in that one is you love eyes.
Yeah, I do.
yeah.
Say they're the windows to the soul. So, you know, it speaks to that.
When he's saying to me, he's like, well, what are you gonna do now?
Wow.
What you gonna do?
What you
What
gonna do?
you gonna do? It's kind of what I see. I don't know why.
For you, are you getting it?
When I think of the aspects of myself, when I see in that image, I think of there's having been through a lot and being able to look at it with I'm trying to say this so it's not hackneyed, but a lightness about how you approach the toughness. He makes it a joke, but he doesn't take it lightly.
So was this particular piece drawn from the photograph directly, or did you change it in any way?
It is drawn from the photograph directly. I probably made some changes, possibly, like you were saying, in his beard. He did have a scruffy beard, but I do like lines and squiggly lines.
No, I keep the beard. The beard's the best part of it.
Yeah, no, I
love that beard.
Yeah, I think
That beard is great.
little things like that were maybe tweaked a little bit, but it's based off of the portrait in this book.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Jamaine.
so much.
Great, thank you.